Are you looking to learn about AWS VPC Peering? Well, if so, this video is for you. Please subscribe and hit the bell to be informed of new cloud computing training videos every Wednesday. Hi, my name is Michael Gibbs and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects, and we're an organization dedicated to providing high quality cloud computing education. And today we're going to be discussing VPC peering, and then we're also going to talk about how to optimize VPC peering in the AWS environment. So first, what is VPC peering? Well, if you understand that you have your own VPC, which is kind of a cross between your own virtual private cloud, it's a cross between a virtual private network and a virtual private data center. And I like to think of a VPC as a virtual private data center because if it was just a VPN, it would be network. But here you're going to have your servers, your load balancers, all of your tech is going to be inside of your VPC. So that's your basically virtual data center inside of the AWS shared cloud environment. So now let's say you want to connect to another organization that has a VPC through the AWS environment. Well, there's really two ways you could do this. You could go to the internet on both sides and you could create an IPsec tunnel between both sides and send all your traffic through the internet and then back into your peer. This works perfectly, but here's the thing. Your internet connectivity in the AWS environment is limited. And not only is your internet connectivity limited, if you leave the AWS network to traverse the internet backbone, it might take 10 internet service providers for you to reach the other side. And you just can't guarantee internet performance. Whatever happens on the internet happens on the internet. You can guarantee your 1 gig connection to the internet, but once it leaves your internet service provider, you don't even know what's going to happen to it because routing constantly changes on the internet. Whereas if you could do this on the AWS high-speed network, basically, and you could create like a private wire between them, even if it would be a logical wire, you could route all your traffic over the AWS network and have access to their high-performance backbone. And AWS can guarantee the performance of their backbone because they build it and they manage it, and it's all under their own autonomy. So the VPC peering is a way to connect two VPCs together to share information. Maybe your organization and a partner organization, or maybe your organization bought another company and they're both on the AWS cloud, and until they can put them all in a single corporate environment, they're going to do VPC peering between them. You may hear me talk about BGP peering because many of these concepts that we'll talk about all come out of the BGP routing world. So this next thing that we're going to talk about is something straight out of the IBGP protocol for those of us with routing backgrounds. So when you have VPCs do not provide transit to other VPCs. So let's say you have an environment, we've got VPC A here, VPC B here, and VPC C here. And you have VPC peering set up between A and B and C. A will be able to talk to B, and C will be able to talk to B, but A will not be able to talk to C through B. And the reason is these VPCs are not transitive. So we hear this come up all the time. We see AWS Certified Solution Architect students understand that VPC peering isn't transitive because they've seen it on a practice test somewhere, but they don't know what that means. So that's exactly what it means. Now with VPC peering, your communication is going to go over that AWS high performance backbone, and it's going to use a private IP addressing space. And your inter-region VPC peering traffic is going to be encrypted. So you've got secure, high-performance connectivity with VPC peering. And as you can see in this diagram, basically we have two VPCs and they're peering across the AWS backbone. And let's talk about the two types of architectures that you would build in a VPC peering environment. You would have something called hub and spoke and fully meshed. And we're going to start with hub and spoke. A hub and spoke environment is going to be a place where you've got a centralized location, and you can see that in this graphic, and multiple remote locations, and they're all going to connect to the central location, and the central location is going to have all the information and be able to communicate with those remote locations. And let's talk about when this would be perfect. Let's say, for an example, you are a manufacturer of products, and you have 10 different manufacturing partners along the way. You could set up your hub and spoke VPC environment. You could VPC peer with all of your 10 people, and you'll be able to speak to all the 10 people, but the other 10 organizations will not be able to talk to each other through your network. And would you really want to be the internet service provider and the network service provider for all of your partner organizations while you're paying for the traffic? You don't want to pay for their traffic. So that's the reason why VPC peering is non-transitive. So because VPC peering is not transitive, if every VPC needs to talk to each other, and in many cases they don't, but if they do, you're going to have to do something called fully mesh them. So as you can see in this graphic here, you have an environment where we have 3 VPCs, and they all have a connection to each other. And that's how you get around the being non-transitive. Everybody talks to everybody. Works great. But here's where it's going to break. I mean, mathematically it's not going to break, but here's where it's going to break in practicality. So in this environment, as you can see, we have 3 VPCs which need 3 connections. Great. As we grow the number of VPCs, those number of connections are going to go up exponentially. So to put it into this case, if we have the 3 VPCs, we need 3 connections. Now let's say we have 10 VPCs that we're trying to peer. With these 10 VPCs we're going to try to peer, we're going to need a lot more than 10 connections. And the formula to figure that out is actually going to be n times n minus 1 divided by 2. So let's say we have 10 VPCs. We're going to take 10 times 10 minus 1, which would give you 90, and then we're going to divide that by 2. So you're going to have 45 connections for just 10 VPCs that need to peer with each other. Now imagine 50 VPCs, 100 VPCs. It could become problematic very fast. So there is an AWS solution to work around this, and that's called CloudHub. And for those of us that come from like an IBGP or BGP perspective, and we think of IBGP that has this complex of fully meshed IBGP peers, and then we move to the route reflector environment where we could create a hub and spoke environment, and therefore that spoke would enable transitive routing, then this is going to feel familiar. So as you can see in this diagram here, we have CloudHub, and everybody connects to the central hub, and they can actually talk to each other through the central hub. So CloudHub is basically a way to create a hub and spoke environment and break the rules of VPC peering by enabling transitive routing. But by doing this, you're creating an environment that you're choosing to do it as opposed to it happening automatically. So there you know. Now you know about VPC peering, you know about fully meshed VPC peering, hub and spoke VPC peering, and how to work around the non-transitive rules with AWS CloudHub. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please download our free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate ebook. You can get it completely free. The link is in the description below. And please join one of our free Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time Zoom meeting sessions for the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate exam, where we invite you to ask any questions that are certification related. They can be about exams, though we will never go over any kind of proprietary questions that they might ask, because but we will answer any questions. Do you know the difference between a security group and an ACL? Do you have any test preparation strategies? We'll happily go over all this. It's completely free and we do it every Monday. So please take advantage of some of these services if you're working on your AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in a new video next Wednesday.